out, and we lift our cup. Ha! Although I retracted the pinky in this one. Anyway, enough about pinkies. Welcome, one and all. What's up? What's happening? How's everybody doing this lovely summer? Hope you guys are, and ladies, are enjoying a nice, svelte, mellifluous 2025 summer. Lots has been going on here. Lots of little projects, side projects, consulting gigs, etc., etc. So content has been a little on the low side. However, as promised, this episode is all about one thing and one thing only: acoustics, specifically Vicoustics. So you guys remember when I first started setting up or planning to set up Studio A in this lovely 30 by 15 abode above our house, that one of the main concerns that I had were going to be, of course, acoustics. And the reason for that was pretty simple. A, I never had a room that I felt needed acoustic treatments. Wait, I had a room. No, I didn't. No, I never had a room that I felt needed acoustic treatments. And I was lucky enough with my previous hi-fi setups, call it over the last 20 years or so, that I in fact did not need any kind of room treatments for the room to really sound great and good. And that is corroborated by, many corroborated. Gosh, I'm completely off today. What the heck? Corroborated by many friends, industry people, etc., that have come over and visited my my hi-fi setups over the years. And yeah, I mean, it's every now and then you get lucky. When you're lucky, count your blessings, because when you're not lucky, it's a disaster. This room, Studio A in lovely Maine, in fact, was a complete disaster. Permit me to expand upon that. So, when there was nothing in this room, when the drywall wasn't even up, the acoustics were entirely overdamped, just because, again, it was a empty room and well insulated, and it just sounded like crap to begin with, right? Once they framed it up and designed it the way it was, and by no means did I intend to design any kind of like a reference room here or a reference acoustic room. Frankly, for the simple reason that this is really not our forever home, and we're not going to be, I didn't feel like spending a ton of money. I wanted it to sound decent, right? I wanted it to be like, okay, I can sit down, I can listen to music, I can evaluate stuff, and it sounds good, if not great, but by no means state-of-the-art reference, etc., right? So, when I first came up here, when the drywalls were done, it was brutal. Slap echo. Reverb times off the charts. And so, I was like, dude, we're going to have to do some serious work here to get this thing sounding any good. Because, I mean, it was just all over the place and completely unlistenable. I mean, literally, I couldn't hear myself think, let alone play any kind of music. And so I figured, hey, who better to call than a fellow compatriot company out of Europe called Vicoustic. They're out of Portugal. They've been around the business forever. They've certainly, if not pioneered, many of the installs for custom home theater, home hi-fi setups. They certainly lent a very large helping hand with them. And as a result, their name is everywhere. They're worldwide. And in my humble opinion, even though there's many options that you can choose from, fortunately, at many different price points, I ended up selecting Vikoustic to help with getting this room to sound halfway decent. Because I felt like that's the look, the feel, the quality which is all important to me, played a big role in this. And from what I could tell, and having seen other panel manufacturers, Vikoustic, to me anyway, seems to be the best and most price elastic in that regard, that they have, you know, various price points. They have kits that you can purchase from them, or rather through their dealer network. And so I reached out to Vicoustic, and so began a wonderful working relationship with these guys. And I have to say, shout out to the entire team, that they really went above board, in my opinion. Immediately returning emails, communication was spot on. In the US, they are sold through the Focal name distribution network that they are cohabitating. And so even though I was directly in touch with the folks at Vicoustic, I was told that, you know, this is pretty much what you can expect from any of our dealers in the US, of course. And yeah, I mean, it was a great introduction, very professional. And basically, the way we started, obviously, was, you know, hey, what are the design parameters? What are you looking to accomplish, right? And again, just to reiterate really quick, my point was, I don't want state of the art. I want something that's good enough. And that, you know, I obviously managed to set a budget level that I felt was very comfortable. I wanted to stay within the sort of $5,000 to $7,000 retail, of course, price point on this project. And we came in right under that, actually. And so the first order of business was really to measure the room, to find out and see what is the status of the room as it is, with a lovely purchase from Amazon, a great microphone, the calibrating microphone, the REW software, which is complimentary, although you can donate to them, which I would suggest you do, because, man, that software is nuts. Way beyond my pay grade. Way beyond what I'm able to process myself. But for an acoustician or someone who really knows what they're doing, that software is a gold mine. I mean, I can only imagine. The fact that these guys are offering it for free, REW that is, they're not associated with Vikoustic, is remarkable. It really is. And so, again, first order of business was measure the room, save the file, send it to the guys at Vikoustic. They plug it into their proprietary software and basically spit out a design theorem, or I guess more of a theorem, more than a theorem. They spit out a design of what they, within the price budget that I gave, what they would do to bring the acoustics in the room to great levels, right? And so reverb time was going to drop significantly, which I almost thought wasn't possible. I mean, it sounded so bad. Seriously, it sounded so dreadful. But yes, reverb time was supposed to drop dramatically. And the rest of it, with the diffusion and absorption panels, a good mix of them, was going to basically even out the rest of it, right? And so, you know, I have to say, and I've said it before, but I really want to emphasize that if you have a room that has challenging acoustics, I implore you to not spend money and waste money on silly upgrades to your hi-fi. Spend money upgrading the acoustics of the room. Why? It's very simple. At the end of the day, the two parameters that make the biggest impact in the sound of your system is going to be your loudspeaker and your room acoustics. Period. That's it. And if those two are not working in sync together, you're going to have a disaster. And so you're going to be like, oh, you know, this pressing sounds overly bright. Well, gee, maybe your room sounds overly bright. You ever thought about that? Of course, another part that plays into this, which, again, I am the only one, to my knowledge, that has brought this up. You got to measure your own ears, dude. What? Yeah? Who? Yes, your own ears on your noggin. Gotta measure them. You can easily do this with AirPods Pro 2 and an iPhone running iOS 18 or later. It's a free software update that you were able to get, and you can do a medically correct, medically accepted, audiology accepted ear test for your own ears, which will of course determine the rest of everything else that goes along with it, right? Surprisingly, no one in High Fidelia, none of the YouTubers, the esteemed YouTube community of professional reviewers that can wax poetically about all kinds of incredible upgrades in the DAX of the month. Yeah, not a single one of them, has taken me up to actually post their own hearing test and discuss the fact that you can take a hearing test so simply with that AirPods Pro 2 and iPhone. But anyway, back to the Vikoustic and back to your loudspeakers. So really, at the end of the day, your loudspeakers, your room, are the two elements that make up the acoustics in your room. And if you have horrible acoustics, you can hear it very easily, obviously. Yeah, you're going to be in a world of pain. You're not going to get the best out of your system. You're not going to get the best out of your loudspeaker, out of your DAC, your turntable, your cartridge, whatever, your record, your reissue, your first issue, your OG, your hot poker, your CD, your SACD, your MQA, your DSD, your AIFF, whatever it may be. It's just not going to sound as good as it possibly can. And so when the Vicoustic team sent me back a nicely formatted PDF document, but 20 or so odd pages, I looked at it, I was like, wow, I can't wait to get this done. So we immediately proceeded. UPS delivered a large drop shipment from Vicoustic with a bunch of panels, as you can see. And onward and upward it began with getting them installed. Now, of course, typically you would have the dealer come and install these for you. I presume in larger projects, Vicoustic would send someone out to oversee and manage the progress and process of getting it installed. I don't know that. But in my case, it was all up to me. Lift your arms and elbows and put some elbow grease in there. Let's get going, Charlie. So that's pretty much what I did. I will say setting these up is pretty simple. You get everything you need. You get the glue gun. Well, actually, no, the glue gun you have to get, but it comes with a kit to mount all the panels that you see here. I did it all myself. It would really help if you have a three-dimensional laser meter to help with, correctly setting sights, levels, etc., making sure that everything is, straight as an arrow, so to speak. And I found this Klein tool, which is somewhere here, that I, by the way, used for all kinds of other stuff too. Very useful in that regard. And so it helped me get everything aligned, set up. And like I said, if you pay attention, if you get the alignment all correct, the levels all set, yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple to do. Some of the panels require a little more time holding them to because they're heavier, to get, obviously glued onto properly. I had a couple of mishaps where some of the panels kind of fell off because I didn't put enough time into it. Fortunately, everything went well and solid. And the result, it was kind of funny. So when I put up the first panel, I'm like, okay, I'm not hearing anything. Well, of course you're not going to hear anything. It's one freaking panel. But I will say, as the room progressed, as the buildup of the panels progressed, as the absorption and diffusion started taking place in the room, damn, it sounds good. Ladies, gentlemen, let me tell you something. When this was all done, currently with my Wilson Alex speakers, but I also had the DeVore speakers up here for a while before putting them back down in Studio B, which is our living room setup. I will say, right now, as of this filming, the room sounds pretty freaking amazing. It really does. Way beyond my expectations. And way beyond what any silly upgrade aforementioned before could possibly do. Your $5,000 speaker cable upgrade, your $10,000 CD player upgrade, means completely nothing in terms of actual sonic experience and sound quality vis-a-vis what you can get with a sub $5,000 US retail Vikoustic setup. And so again, I can only implore you guys, invest the money where the money really makes most sense, right? In any event, huge shout out to Vicoustic and the team that helped me create this. Absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, I'm super stoked. Love using this stuff. Love listening to music in here. It's a whole new experience. And I can only recommend you do the same. Thanks for tuning in as always. See you guys on the flip side. Later.